Hey everybody, how's it going? Oh, sorry about my finger there. Just want to make sure it's open up. Hope you guys are all doing well. Happy Saturday. Thanks for joining our live stream on the new time. It's really fun to see everybody on a new great way to welcome in the weekend. How are you doing, Derrick?
I'm good. How is everybody? We have Mary Ellen Dillon. Hello, hello. Thomas Reiser. Good to see you. Great to see everybody on.
Yeah, great to see all you guys. And then Shady Hill Homestead, we haven't seen you on our live streams before, so welcome if this is your first time. And thank you for joining. Hello. But yes, hello to Mary Ellen and Thomas. Thank you guys for coming on. And yes, Derrick finally did make it over here so we could start. I'm married to a man who's always running just a minute late. You're like, I can't deny that. So anyway, hope you guys have had a great New Year's. I know it's been almost 2 weeks since we talked to you guys last. So we've had a lot going on in our lives since then. And we're excited to kind of share along what's been going on. But hello to Klaus, welcome to you. So I just wanted to first start off by saying it's been a very busy week for us. Derrick and I became an aunt and uncle this week.
Yep.
Which we are thrilled about. And we still haven't met our nephew yet. Derrick's parents drove up to meet him today, and we're doing it kind of in shifts just to keep safe and everything. And it's about, our nephew's in Indianapolis, so it's about 2 hours from here. And so we're hoping to do that again, or we're hoping to meet him sometime this coming week.
Yep. I turned 33-ish.
Yes, so that's the other thing that happened
had a
this
birthday.
week. Mary Ellen says happy birthday to Derrick. Yes, so Derrick.
Thank you.
It still is like birthday-ish time, I would say. So yes,
My birthday month.
we have.
January.
He was the OG in the family of early January birthdays. Now we have a second one, but yes, Derrick turned 33 2 days ago on January 7th, and we are just so thrilled to have been able to celebrate his birthday here, just with his parents and his brother. It was a really nice time, and we ended up eating Thai food because it was Derrick's choice. Derrick's huge fan of that.
Of what?
Thai food?
Oh yeah, Thai food. Thai food and carrot cake.
Yeah, oh yeah. You ate the carrot cake more than I did, for sure. But Derrick loves carrot cake. I don't know if you guys, let us know in the chat if you guys like carrot cake too, but that's like Derrick's top favorite, and his dad went out and got one for him, which was really sweet.
Yeah, it was great. Second ingredient on the list was carrots.
First ingredient was sugar.
Yeah, sugar and carrots. Yummy. But yeah, no, it's been good. You know, obviously a different birthday than usual. Usually we'd actually be in Vegas on my birthday because of the Consumer Electronics Show. I would go there every year. Yeah. So it's a little bit different, you know, just celebrating it, kind of locked in the house sort of thing.
Yeah, you know what's funny is there's another very large YouTuber travel couple who are currently in Vegas right now. They just got there this week, and I was watching the wife's Instagram stories and being like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they were even able to get a hotel room. Obviously, the Consumer Electronics Show that we go to every year is canceled this year. But
they're doing it all, well, it's not canceled, it's digital this year.
Digital this year, right. But I'm like, you have no idea how difficult it is to get a hotel room in the first week of January, or the second week of January, or first week or whatever, the week of CES in Vegas. And so clearly Vegas is like a lot more empty right now than it typically is. If you're what we've experienced.
If you're looking to go to Vegas for vacation, fun times, don't go during CES most years.
Well, plus it's like so much more expensive usually during that particular conference.
Prices get jacked up because everybody's there with corporate accounts, and they don't care, they just expense it. So like bar prices, you know, we were there and a bartender was telling us how they have like a CES menu, and it's like 30 to 40% more expensive than non-CES.
It's crazy that like all of the hospitality venues, hotels, restaurants, stuff like that in the city of Las Vegas are able to shift their pricing kind of week over week depending on what's in town. I mean, it makes sense from a business perspective for them, but that was an interesting kind of tidbit that we learned a couple years ago when we were talking to a bartender there, and he's like, "Yeah, last week this cost half as much."
Yeah. So we got some stuff. So Klaus, welcome, Klaus. Good to see you.
Welcome, Mark Smith.
Mark Smith,
Nick
how you doing?
Burnett's, yes, Thai food. Katie Smith's son.
Hey, Katie, how you doing? Good to see you all.
So sorry if we've missed anybody, but yes, welcome to Klaus, Katie, Nick, and Mark.
Yeah. And Mary Ellen, no, we don't share a birthday, but we're very close.
Oh, when was Mary Ellen's birthday?
No, with my nephew.
Oh, yeah.
No, we're very close, but not quite.
There was a certain point in time where the due date was actually Derrick's birthday, but things kind of kept getting shifted around a little bit. He came slightly early.
Mark from Walter's World is on. Good
Hi,
to see you,
Mark. Welcome.
But yeah, so wait. Nick Barnett says Thai food is yummy. Been a while since I've had some good chicken pad thai. Yeah, pad thai is good. She's a big fan of
pad see ew.
Yeah, pad see ew. I like pad ki mao, which is like drunk man noodles.
Although the pad ki mao here, so normally that's a dish that is quite spicy. But for some reason, the one here at the restaurant that we go to is not.
Yeah.
And we're kind of like, huh.
Yeah, I need to, and they have like a spicy scale from like 0 all the way up to like 10. And so I'm like, all right, 5. Give me a 5, because
this is supposed to be a spicy dish.
Yeah, for Thai food, I'm like, 5 is probably for me pretty hot. And every time I've gotten it, there's been no spice. So I just need to be like, give me a 10, and then I'm not gonna be able to eat it. But
I think you just need to talk to them and be like, hey, I'm used to this being a very spicy dish. Are you not putting in all the chili peppers?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's weird. Typical.
Weird. Eric Zwart, welcome, sir. How are you?
Welcome, Eric, all the way in Europe. And then Purdue is on. We look so much older. I'm not older yet. We're in that little window where Derrick's older than me each year. It lasts about a month and a half. And Derrick is now officially older than me.
Yeah,
so.
There we go. But guys, I did moisturize today, so hopefully I'm not looking too
He's
craggy.
combating those aging.
trying to roll back that clock.
Well, congrats on your moisturizing.
Has SPF in it, that's anti-aging.
When I used to work on the Olay marketing team, there was a study that was published that women typically start to use anti-aging products by 35.
I'm not 35, so I'm ahead of the curve.
He's preventative.
Yeah, Eric, I'm 25. I'm now 25 8 times. I have a lot of experience of being 25.
He's 33.
33.
33. No, just 33. Good choice, moisture and SPF, yes. Especially with these lights shining on us. Man, I should have put some SPF on today.
So, we don't really have a huge... Wait, do we have a topic that we're supposed to be covering?
Yeah, you just missed... You were late.
I was late. What are we talking about?
We're talking about winter travel.
Winter travel. Don't do it. Stay inside where it's warm.
No, do it if you can, if it's safe, of course. But we're going to share a little bit more of our winter traveling experiences from years past and some tips that we've learned and kind of how that all works and stuff. So we've actually never been to a winter resort, if you will, like a skiing thing or anything like that. So we'd love to hear from you guys to fill in the blanks.
I know Eric has.
Yes, Eric.
Tell us all about your
Eric
winter
goes all the time,
activities.
And I just get to live vicariously through him on Instagram. But so we both grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Chicago. Derrick grew up in Indiana, and there's not a lot of mountains around us. It's very flat, with the exception of where we are now is kind of southern Indiana, which is we're not where Derrick grew up. And there is a small ski resort here that we've never been to. But generally speaking, having grown up in the Midwest, especially for me having grown up in Chicago, you have to drive very far to get anywhere that has something with a slope.
Yeah.
So that's just never been something that like my parents participated in, and my family didn't do that so much either. So yeah, unfortunately, my experience is limited there. But we have traveled in the wintertime. And I've traveled to cities. I've traveled to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Remember that one?
Yeah, Gatlinburg, Tennessee was fun. It's its own special place.
We've been to Tennessee
Street.
twice, both times in January.
Yes. Yes.
Nashville.
Nashville.
Oh, you've been a third time because you went for your bachelor party.
That wasn't in the winter time.
I know, and that's what I was saying. We've been to Tennessee
twice
in January.
Well, I've been to Tennessee many times. We used to go down to Tennessee in the summertime.
That's true.
To go to Dale Hollow Lake, which is like right on the Tennessee-Kentucky border, and that's an awesome time. Had a great time doing that. Get the houseboat going and stuff. It was great. But yeah, no. So what I would say about like winter travel is that first identify what you want to do, right? So do you want to be in the city? Do you want to be in the country? Do you want to be on the slopes, sipping hot chocolate, whatever it is, or do you want to get down to like a warmer climate? Because I'd say that my family historically has been much more inclined for warmer climates. They're like, why would we go somewhere that's colder than it already is here?
Yeah.
Let's go to like Florida or something like that, where it's warm. We can go on the beach.
And I would say that generally speaking, my family growing up was the same way. Florida was, Sanibel Island specifically, was their destination of choice for spring breaks and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. My recommendation is go to South America. That's it. Just go down there. It's summer there during our winter. It's phenomenal. Just like soak up the rays.
Well, okay. So Derrick and I spent our honeymoon in South America for 3.5 weeks, and that was over New Year's, Christmas and New Year's, and into the early January. And we had a wonderful time. We were there right at the beginning of their big kind of travel season, right? So it's kind of like going at the beginning of May or June if you're in the northern hemisphere, where it's like the beginning of their big summer season. So certain beach destinations that we traveled to were just gearing up for this big tourism influx. And this was the end of 2017, early 2018. And so that was a very, very cool time to go to South America and experience what would be considered their summer, but our winter time. But then we've also, I've made even a video on this channel about like ways that I packed for visiting New York City in wintertime. And we've been to Nashville, we've been to California. I'm trying to think of, there's just, Derrick used to travel all the time for work too, so his list is probably even much longer than mine. But winter travel's interesting, right? Because you are, first of all, packing very differently, but the activities that you do plan, you have to be, you likely have to have a little bit more flexibility in case weather becomes a factor. So
I would say that, yeah, obviously it becomes more difficult to pack just in carry-on in the wintertime if you're going to a place that's not warm, because you do have bigger, bulkier items, so you might be checking a bag. So, depending on how you like to travel, that either adds expense or doesn't, because, maybe your first bag free or whatever. But yeah, I'd say,
it adds bulk no matter what.
Bulk, so like, maybe wear your bulkier items on the plane, like a big coat or something like that, even if you're coming from a warm destination to a cold or what have you, or from cold to warm. I would say still bring a jacket even if you're going to a warm place, because a lot of times while it might be warmer in the daytime, it could still drop at night. Like I'm thinking of specifically if you're going to like a Tucson in the Southwest, it might be, 60s a day, dropping down into the 30s at night.
Below freezing at night.
Yeah, below freezing. So definitely have layers and jackets and stuff like that, and make sure that you're packing not just for the highs, but also the lows. And then, as you think through, even if you're going to a place that's like a balmy Miami or something like that, having a coat so that when you come back to wherever you're from, if it's not warm, if you're coming from a cold climate, making sure that you have appropriate attire for when you get home is super important, because When we came back from South America specifically, we were coming back to a crazy cold streak in New York. And
it was
we
a blizzard. Yeah.
It wasn't a blizzard, but it was like super cold.
I thought it was a blizzard.
So cold that like when we landed, you looked outside the plane and you just saw like you could see the air when it blew. It was so cold. And so what ended up happening to us, we actually had taken some like sweatshirts. I think we had because we get cold on planes occasionally. So we had those.
In just carry-ons.
Well, that's true. We only had carry-ons, so we actually had jackets.
Which saved us in terms of layers, because when we left, so we departed from Santiago, Chile, and had a layover in Mexico City in this particular trip coming home. And so our flight was from Mexico City to New York's JFK, and because of the weather, and there had been a stop, air traffic stop at JFK. Prior to us landing, so there was a very large backup in the airspace, and subsequently there was also not enough gates to accommodate the amount of arriving jets once the airspace reopened. So
what happened?
Our flight was an hour and a half late because they delayed us on the ground instead of having a circle, but they were just getting all of the airplanes to land like boom, 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 and then when we landed, we didn't have a gate. And so they literally had us in bitter cold weather arriving from Mexico City, deplane on the tarmac.
Yeah. So basically we had to take
into a bus.
We had to deplane into a bus. That good news, bad news. We were in business class because it was our honeymoon. And so that meant that we got off the plane first, which means that we got onto an empty bus first that was as cold as the outside. Like, there's, like, no air conditioning in there. And we kept saying to each other, thank God we actually packed layers, because we're looking at all the people around us. And there's people in shorts and T-shirts. And it's, like, it's probably in the teens Fahrenheit. So it was cold.
And we were one of the few people, I will say, that had a jacket on the plane. A lot of people had checked their baggage and thus checked their coats, that sort of thing. And so, we were warm enough, but other people were certainly like freezing, shivering, for a very long time.
And it's not like you got on the bus and it took you directly. They waited until that bus got full and then they took it. So it's like,
right, you're not just jumping in an Uber.
Yeah, we were in the cold for 10 minutes probably. Yeah. It was pretty bad. That learn from our past, and make sure that you do have layers, and you bring layers onto the plane in case you do have like a tarmac dismount from the plane. So
yeah.
All right, so we do have a couple of things here. So Eric Zwart is a ski instructor, and he's happy to teach us how to ski if and when we visit.
Awesome, love that.
Yes.
We're gonna take you up on that. And hi, John. Welcome to John H. I don't think he's been on the live stream before either. So anyone who's new right now, we just want to say welcome. We talk about travel and do travel Q&A in these live streams. We're going to jump into the questions really soon, but right now we are just sharing a little bit about winter travel.
Yep, but if people have questions about winter travel or anything, drop it in the comments, please, because we'd love to respond to them.
Yeah, so we're going to go backwards a little bit in the chat and make sure that we haven't skipped any
Purdue
questions.
agrees with my family, which is cold and vacationing don't usually go together. I agree with that as well. And Nick Barnett says, despite being in upstate New York in recent times where there's been plenty of snow and mountains, I've actually never skied. Was never taken as a kid, never took the time to learn. Yeah, I've never learned. I need to go learn on some bunny hills. I do know that there's something about like French fries and pizza slice or something like that. That's the extent of my knowledge of skiing, though.
And Nick Barnett says he went on an hour-long walk, not caring that it was in the teens where he lives this morning. That's cold. We have been on a couple of walks around this neighborhood this week. However, we had bundled up, and it wasn't even that cold. Like, I mean, it was probably around the freezing mark, so 0 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. But the wind chill off, I wouldn't say off the lake, but it was just wet while we were walking around the small lake in this neighborhood. I don't know, maybe it's the lack of all of the houses and trees when you're next to the lake or something, but it was very unpleasantly like cold on our faces.
Well, yeah, this was on my birthday that we went for this walk, and we got down to the lake, and we're standing there, and there's like a little dam type of thing that you can walk across. And we're standing there, and we're looking out over the lake, and we're like, oh, this is nice. Let's go walk across the dam. And we stepped foot on the dam, and we walked like 5 paces, and the wind just like picked up right in our face. And we're like, nope, okay, let's go back to the house.
We're like, this is unpleasant. We should go somewhere where it's warm again.
We're getting soft. Okay, so Katie Smith says, what was your favorite city or area in Argentina?
In Argentina specifically, I really, really loved visiting Bariloche. I loved Buenos Aires too, but it was kind of like there were certain parts of Buenos Aires that I liked better than others. But Bariloche, Argentina, which is more south.
It's called the Gateway of Patagonia.
Yeah, and it has a lot of lakes and beautiful mountains. That was just a breathtaking part of the world that I felt like I was just really pleased that we got to visit.
I'm just now realizing how like on brand my mug is for our discussion of winter travel. Nice.
Unintentional snowman.
I didn't even know we were talking about winter travel before I came down here. 'Cause,
Derrick was super prepared this morning, everybody, clearly.
But yeah, no, so here's where we went, right? So we flew into Buenos Aires, went over to Uruguay, came back, and then we went down to Bariloche, and then we were up in Mendoza for a little bit before heading over to Chile. And so between those 3, Mendoza, Bariloche, and Buenos Aires, I mean, Buenos Aires was phenomenal. It's probably one of my favorite cities, I would say. That said, Bariloche from like a natural beauty perspective was a gem. It was awesome. I would highly recommend it. I kind of thought of it as a more mountainous version of like a Como in Italy type thing. I just thought it was breathtaking. It actually reminded me of certain parts of northern Scotland occasionally, or some of the like locks, inland locks and stuff like that. Just from the you had some like hills and mountains like right up into that big lake.
There's a lot of Swiss influence in that town as well. My understanding is due to
German.
To Swiss and German immigrants that relocated there, and so
in the 1800s.
Correct. And they have like a chocolate factory there. They have craft breweries. I don't drink beer, but it was still really fun to go to them. It was just a really cool destination. We were just so pleased to visit there in the wintertime, especially I believe we were there at Christmas. So yeah, we were. So we got to do like a Christmas Eve dinner at one of the restaurants. We got
Patacon. Very good.
And we even drove to a nearby city. I'm forgetting the name of it. That was on the other side of the lake on Christmas Eve, and walked around and like went to different Christmas shops. Had to do with like
Augustus or something like that. Yeah. No, I mean it was a great time. So I mean, I can't say which between the 2 was my favorite. I would say Mendoza, the way we did it, was not my favorite. Going to Mendoza and staying in the city of Mendoza is maybe not what I would recommend in the height of their summer. It was hot.
It was 101 degrees Fahrenheit.
I bought tank tops while I was there. I was sporting some man tanks because it was so hot, and I lost some clothes in Bariloche. In a laundry accident, but
a laundry accident, which just meant like we didn't get all of Derrick's clothes back from the lavanderia. But
so what I'd say is like I would do Mendoza differently than how we did it. I would definitely go back and do wine country in Argentina because I love their Malbecs. I love their wine. But I would actually look at doing a stay actually on one of the vineyards. There's a number of those that offer that kind of, like they might have guest houses like on property. I would probably go do something like that in hindsight. We had a great time. We did like a sunset horseback riding tour. We did a bunch of stuff in Mendoza that I thought was awesome. It's also where I got food poisoning, but that's beside the point. But we had a great time.
I did not get it, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I got it, and that was not fun for like one day. But otherwise it was a great time.
I think the Estancia tour where we got to ride
awesome.
horseback at sunset on the Andes Mountains over the vineyards was just
Phenomenal.
amazing. And so yes, I agree.
And it ended with the big traditional Argentine grill and everything.
Yeah,
it was awesome. Lots of meat.
But I would say if you're planning on going to that region and you are like interested in wine or just want to do something a little bit more rural, yeah, I agree with Derrick. Stay.
Maybe on in Estancia.
Yeah, because the city of Mendoza was okay, but not like our favorite.
See, I didn't actually do any research into what Mendoza was like, so I didn't realize that Mendoza is like a real city.
Yeah, we thought it was going to be like going to Napa.
I thought it was going to be like going to Napa, which we've been to Napa and Sonoma before.
Yeah, at the
so
time
we were just thinking it was like going to be a tiny town, all about wine, just kind of fun. And we get there and it's like sprawling city. And I mean, we had some great meals there. We did go to it's that Francis Mallman restaurant that they have there. It was really nice, but like at the same time, it's like, okay, it's a big city. It's not as nice as Buenos Aires, so like, I would have rather done something probably a little bit different, but still cool.
You live and you learn, and then you live stream and tell people.
Mark Smith says, "Have you been to Australia or New Zealand?"
We haven't.
No. That was on our list this year.
Yeah, we were very much looking at going to Australia last April 2020, due to a new flight that was supposed to launch between Chicago and Brisbane on April 20th of 2020. Of course, it did not. So
420.
Yeah.
It's a high flight.
Okay. And so anyway, it was such a shame that we didn't get to go. And it's definitely on our more immediate list of going. I would love to go to Australia for. Can you stop kicking me? I would love to go to Australia for like a month because there's just so much I want to see there. And then New Zealand is almost like a separate trip as well because there's so much to see there. So yeah, we'll be spending some time there eventually for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely want to go, but I do love, Mark, that you're saying water skiing Santa's always blew my mind as a kid. That's awesome. Because, yeah, it'd be summer there. So that's
I know,
cool.
it's crazy. Where my family lives in Tucson, they put Santa Claus hats on top of the cacti, and those are super cute, too. As decorations.
Yeah, so we've never been there, but we've been to Tucson many times during the winter, and, that's fun, too.
Mark says, in an emergency, airport sell sweatshirts. Yes, that is a good point. If you kind of are stranded somewhere or you know that you're going to need an extra layer, whether it's at an airport or at a tourist destination in general, usually you can track down another layer.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, probably the place in the United States that's most notorious for selling just bucket loads of like sweatshirts to tourists is San Francisco, because everybody goes to San Francisco with this false idea that it's California, it's going to be warm.
Yeah, they're thinking Southern California.
They're thinking like SoCal. They get there and they're like, why is it so cold? Yeah. And it's like colder in the city. So like you go to like being in San Francisco versus Napa Valley, which isn't that far away, is like at least a 10-degree difference in like heat, and it's not necessarily warm in Napa either, so you're just like, wow.
Derrick's brother used to live in Santa Rosa, which is Sonoma County, and for years, and so we'd go out and visit, and the temperature difference even between being in San Francisco and Sonoma, which they're very close to each other, it was nototable. Like 10-degree swings and stuff like that, and the sun, like sun versus fog too.
Yeah, so that's the thing is like you go to San Francisco and you see a lot of people with like the San Francisco tourist things because it's like, oh, they didn't pack well, Okay. It's kind of fun.
But at the same time, like when I lived in New York, when we lived in New York, I had a coworker who was from San Francisco, and she said when she moved from San Francisco to New York City, she didn't realize that like she would need to buy all these new jackets. Like that wasn't part of her budget, I guess, because she just assumed like coastal city to coastal city, but San Francisco doesn't get as cold as New York does either.
Yeah. Nick Barnett wants to go to Siberia in January. That sounds like its own kind of heck.
That's a winter
Destination.
bucket list item. Yeah.
I mean, the place I want to go to in the
crazy.
wintertime, like the location that I'm really keen to get to is Quebec City in the wintertime, because I hear it's supposed to be actually gorgeous, but there's so much snow. So it's like one of those places that, because Quebec City kind of looks like, a provincial French town, it has a wall and all this other stuff, cobblestone streets. My understanding is that in the wintertime it really does look like a fairy tale. So that would be really cool to go to.
And Katie, thank you so much. She said, please press the thumbs up button. Thank you to anybody who's already done so. Anybody who hasn't, maybe press the thumbs up just to say that this is a fun live stream to join and talk about travel on. And if you haven't already, definitely subscribe to this channel so that way you can tune in more.
Ruth Armstrong, good morning, and welcome.
Good morning. Good morning, Mom. And then, Nick's agreeing with Eric's word that we definitely all have to go to Austria basically when COVID's over and learn how to ski from Eric. We're going.
Wait.
We're going with.
I'm hearing a Meansters or a meanie ski trip.
Derrick's like really into these words that I'm like, let's shut it down. Okay, Austrian ski trip
Meanies
with
only.
the means to travel crowd. I'm okay with this idea.
Mark Walters says, I just break bones when I ski, so I don't ski anymore. Woof.
Mark, I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah. It sounds like it happened more than once, too, based on that comment, so ouch.
Yeah. Thomas Reiser, not much of a skier, hand-eye coordination thing.
Yeah.
Vega Bonnie's on. What's up, Bonnie?
Hi, Bonnie. She says she goes on vacation to get away from the cold, too. I think a lot of people are in that camp, for sure.
Yeah.
We've gone to Florida a few times in the wintertime in recent years, but I would like to go back. We were talking with a family friend of ours who's in West Palm Beach right now, and he was saying it was like 78 and sunny.
We're like, why would you tell us that?
I was just like, oh, that's lovely.
Yep. So Mark's telling us about how the airport near them always has snowbirds coming back, and half the plane's in flip-flops and Hawaiian shirts, but it's like 5 degrees outside.
Yeah. Oof. Oh, and Mark's making a good point that I feel like people that are from college okay, well, I'm sure he's talking about more like Indianapolis or Chicago with that. But when I was in my sorority house, for example, there was, the day before everybody would go on spring break. A lot of people go on spring break together. And there is this one sister of mine that I specifically remember, and she was like running around the house screaming about how excited she was to wear like her sundress even onto the plane because it was so cold outside there. And I just remember being like, you're gonna be freezing. Like, airplanes are cold. Like, and especially in the wintertime, they keep them cold too. So my best friend who's a flight attendant is always like, yeah, you'd be surprised how many people ask for blankets. And when they're coming from like or going to a really, really like warm destination, because they forgot the fact that like it's cold on the plane.
Yeah. So Nick Barnett says it's wooded areas, and his area is very wooded, so not too windy for when he goes on his walks. That's nice.
That's good.
Mark Walters agrees with us about Bariloche being gorgeous.
It is, yeah. We even, as soon as we checked into our hotel and looked out the window, there was like two rainbows or something. It was just amazing.
Yeah, and one thing that Nick is commenting on is about, if you don't mind the cold, it might be a good way to like get good deals, because you could travel then in the shoulder season, still experience a place, and get a good deal that way. And I agree to that up to a point. I will say that there are definitely pros and cons to going on the less busy times, especially if you're going to a very tourist heavy location. So for us, when we were doing the tour around northern Scotland doing the North Coast 500. Super, super, popular place for tourists, heavily trafficked area. The problem with going on shoulder season is that a lot of things aren't open. So that's something to think about in any location that you're going to. Does it have a sizable enough local population that a lot of the businesses will stay open year round, or will things be shut down? Our understanding was, obviously, when we went on the North Coast 500 in Scotland, it was during COVID, so there's an additional layer of, businesses not operating at full capacity, but we did understand that a lot of places would still be seasonal, and they would shut down kind of in late fall, early winter, and not be open for the rest of the time, whether those are museums, restaurants, bars, etc. So that's something to think about where you're going to is, is it going to have the things that you actually want to experience during that shoulder season? Because if it does, then yes, awesome way to do it.
But to piggyback on that and kind of play the other side, if you're going to a city, for example, most cities are going to have the majority of their tourist places open still, and especially if you're interested in museums or indoor attractions, that could be a great way to experience some of those types of things that are still, allow you to warm up a little bit when there's a few less people. So I would agree with Nick that traveling in the wintertime can give you a couple of opportunities that you might not necessarily think about. Because I feel like travel people are always talking about shoulder season, which also has its benefits. But wintertime, I mean, if you're looking to avoid crowds, that's the time to go.
Yeah.
We actually went to Boston in what we kind of like in our heads thought was going to be shoulder season, like March. It was not. It was winter. It was so cold, and we were walking around, and it just like the wind chill and like the nip in the air was very, very cold, and so we kind of like vowed to ourselves like, never again. This is a summertime destination, so you have to really be mindful of like how much cold you actually are willing to handle, because being outside for hours is different than being outside from car to car, or like car to building in the wintertime as well.
I actually find it better to be out for hours, because then it just numbs you.
Oh, that doesn't happen to me.
See, I find that to be personally better.
My toes like start feeling like they're about to fall off
it's
over
like
time.
It's like walking around Chicago. Honestly, it's like walking around Chicago in the wintertime. I actually, it's just that initial, call it 5 minutes, that's like terrible, and then you just need to like then your face gets numb and you're just like, it's fine.
He handles cold a lot better than I do.
I run hotter. So Katie has added Bariloche to her Google Want to Go list of places. Nice. That's very cool, and she also wants to do a cruise from Argentina to Antarctica. So funny thing, cool. When we were flying into Buenos Aires in the business class cabin that we were in, a gaggle of people got on the plane. I don't know how to, like a group of people got on the plane. A bunch of Chinese tourists got on the plane, and they were all wearing these like massive parkas. And I remember being very confused because the plane was coming from Dallas, Fort Worth down to Buenos Aires, and I'm like, we're coming from a place that's not that cold, and we're going to a place where it's summer. So I got very, very confused. But then the lady who was sitting next to me, we shared like we were both in the center of the plane, and I could tell she was like getting frustrated, and she was actually with the group, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? Everything okay? And she's like, these are all my aunts. They're all annoying me. She's like, we're all going to Antarctica. I was like, oh, that's why everybody's wearing parkas. Because I was so confused. She's like, yeah, I volunteered to take them all to Antarctica. I'm like, first of all, awesome. Like, that's an amazing trip. Second of all, I don't know if I'd want to, like, chaperone all my aunts to, well, maybe, but to Antarctica. That would be quite
Depends
the
on
feat.
If they're paying your way.
Yeah. But, it was just one of those funny things where I was like, oh, it all makes sense now, and I hadn't even thought of Antarctica as a place to actually go as a person. Right,
that would be the next place after, arriving in Argentina.
So I've actually got a friend who's done Antarctica and stuff, and I hear it's phenomenal, so that's definitely a place that we want to go to eventually, but it's not quite at, like, the top of our list. I think that's kind of like, that's after safari.
Yeah, safari and Australia and New Zealand, I think would probably be first for us.
Get the habitable continents under our belt first, and then move on to
Antarctica would be really cool to be able to say that you've been to, though. I think that's neat. I've a family friend who, her and her sister are they're like retirement age, and they have done a ton of Arctic trips north, like to the Arctic Circle, and they're obsessed with like Arctic wildlife, and they have so many incredible photographs from these excursions. They often go with like the trips, in order to attract people. A lot of those cruises will bring on like National Geographic photographers and stuff that people who are interested in that type of travel excursion would be really interested in networking with that type of photographer as well. They're just so passionate about it. And I'm like, so have you been to Greenland? And they're like, yeah, 7 times. And I'm like, oh,
nice.
Naturally. So it's just fun to pick their brains about cold weather adventures.
So Vega Bonnie is saying that Argentina to the Antarctic was one of her favorite trips. That's very cool.
That is.
Nick Barnett agrees that April 20th is a funny date. And Katie Smith is asking what company Bonnie went with.
That's so cool that Bonnie got to go to Antarctica.
Yeah, that's really cool. Purdue is saying that Argentina reminds him of The Long Way Up, which I still haven't seen. I've got to watch it. I've seen The Long Way Down, The Long Way Around. Now I need to see The Long Way Up.
Man, is it on Netflix?
I think it's on Prime.
Prime. Then my mom and Purdue were discussing skiing injuries. Yikes.
Mark Smith, did you do the El Fogo style barbecue? Yeah, so we did. We went to a few places in Argentina that had that kind of churrascaria type feel to it. One place in the what's it called? That port?
In Argentina? La Boca?
No. It's that port. It's the bridge. It has a really cool bridge.
Puerto Madero?
Puerto Madero. That. So we did one there. We did like the Estancia barbecue was similar to that as well, which was really cool.
Yeah. I feel like if you are a meat eater and you go to Argentina, that's definitely an experience to have.
Yeah, I will say they do like to cook their steak more than I do. So like you're not going to get like a medium rare necessarily, especially if you don't specify. They do a little bit more towards like that.
But we went to a restaurant called Siga La Vaca, and that's the one in
Siga La Vaca, yeah.
In Puerto Madero, right?
It's kind of like a chain. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, and it had extremely good meat, and it was kind of all you can eat sort of
buffet.
It's not a buffet because you
had
have
a cold buffet.
They would like wasn't the situation where they would like make the stuff in the back, and then they would be like, hey, the blah 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 is ready, and then you're like, I want that, so you'd like get up and go take a plate sort of thing. So it's different than the kind of buffet that we're used to in the States a little bit, where it's just kind of like, hey, I want that, boop. But we had a friend of ours recommend it, the one who actually is interviewed on this channel. She had relocated to Buenos Aires in February of 2020 and then relocated straight back in March.
Yep. Clarissa,
yeah.
She's got a thing on here.
So she had recommended that to us, and it was, what I will say, an approachable way, especially like, let's say if you don't speak Spanish, I think you could navigate your way pretty easily through that restaurant and have a phenomenal time. I vaguely remember a lot of the staff was bilingual, so certainly a place to consider.
It was good. Katie Smith is saying that when she lived in San Francisco, she didn't even bother owning a pair of shorts, and she wore the same things pretty much all year round. Yeah.
It seems like a couple people are agreeing that San Francisco is pretty cold almost all the time. Definitely not a Southern California thing. Hello to Julia. Hello to Ryan Donahue. Welcome.
What's up, Ryan?
Blaine is on. Dara from Magenta Otter Travels is on. Guys, thank you so much, for all of you guys, for joining. It's been like 2 weeks since we've live streamed, and so we were kind of nervous that you guys all would have forgotten about us.
Or tuned tuned in tomorrow instead of
yeah,
today
tune
on
in tomorrow.
accident,
So thank you to everybody, because yes, this is a new time. We're experimenting. That's a good point. Let me just add, because I haven't said this yet. We're experimenting this month with a couple of new time frames. Moving away from Sundays right now. Seeing if Saturday mornings work well for you all. So let us know your feedback on that. And then also, there's going to be 2 live streams on Thursday night. So this coming Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then I have a full calendar of the January live stream schedule in the community tab on YouTube, posted on Twitter and Facebook on the Means to Travel accounts. So add those to your calendars, because we'd love to hang out more in January.
Yep. And Ryan, I don't know if you agree with us or not, but March in Boston. Cold.
Yeah, we were talking about
Very cold.
It was so cold.
That's not the time we stayed at that airport hotel, though, right?
No, we've been to
That was
Boston
your
several
wedding.
times. Yeah, and so that was in June.
I will say, if you're going to Boston in the summertime, while the the boat rides are going through the bay and stuff, we stayed at an airport hotel.
And no regrets. It was
regrets. It was
the
awesome.
best.
Oh, it was phenomenal. But we stayed at this airport hotel, and what we loved about it was that there was a dock, like, right in front of it, basically, where you could pick up a water taxi to take you into Boston.
Yeah.
And it just dropped you off, and drops you off at a park, like, right downtown, and you just, like, you're there. And I was like, this is the best way to... Because you get to see Boston from the water. Yeah. Like, it was awesome. It was really cool. Now, getting back... Maybe do some Googling and figure out before you go how to take the water taxi back, because we got really confused on how that whole thing worked. And, like, we were like, are we in the right place? Like, who are we supposed to be calling? Like,
that was our fault for not understanding the water taxi system.
Yeah, we just didn't know
enough.
the system well. So definitely look that up if you're doing it, so you know how to get back. But we eventually figured it out.
But yeah, the hotel we were staying at, I can't remember if it's a Hyatt or a Hilton, but it was one of the two, and it was right next to the water taxi station. Like, literally, you walk out of the hotel and the water taxi station for the airport is there.
Yeah.
So we walked out, we got on the water taxi, and oh my gosh, the ride, because it was summertime, it was like perfect weather, beautiful sunny day. And we got to go straight into downtown with an amazing view of the skyline the entire way.
And so if you're into photography like me, I'm just like taking pictures like left and right. I'm like, this is awesome.
And the hotel was probably like $100 cheaper a night than staying in the city. So we're like, this is an amazing, like, undiscovered way to do it.
Well, it's not only that, but like they actually had good food as well. Like they actually had like a decent restaurant. And they had outdoor fire pits that looked at the skyline. So, like, what we got was, like, we're sitting there, like, looking, like, the sunset that night was phenomenal. And then as it got dark, you just had the Boston skyline. It was something else. I was like, this is, like, the best way to do Boston.
Yeah. I don't know if any of you guys can hear it. I can, but my computer is making some fan noises, so I apologize if it's picking up on the microphone at all. Just wanted to put that out there. Hopefully it's going to stop real soon. So it looks like...
Nick is saying he would totally go to Yakutsk, Siberia in January when the average highs are -40 if I started making travel videos. So, Nick, we'll leave that video to you to make.
Yeah, Nick, we'd watch it. we just won't collab on that one.
Not on that one.
Nick's just standing there like... Here I am, alive.
All right, so now people are talking about the ski summit in Austria. Both Nick and Julia are in. Blaine, good morning. Good morning.
Eric Zort's like getting great business from this live stream.
What you need to do, Eric, is you need to incorporate a business.
Yeah, we're all gonna create a group tour on this one.
All right, so Magenta to Travers, thank you for the Saturday live streams since I can't do Sundays. Been listening since the beginning, but only got on my computer now to comment. Thank you.
Thanks, Dara. That's really nice of you.
And we loved all your very nice comments on our Kent travel vlog.
Oh, yeah. That's another thing that happened this week.
We launched a travel vlog.
We posted a travel vlog and another video. So thank you all to those of you guys. I'm pretty sure almost all of you guys have watched those. We've gotten some great comments.
Yep.
So thank you for the support on those videos. We were super excited to get travel vlogs back up, and
Yep.
We were a little like unsure because we're kind of like, it was the second video with the tips about how to travel right now safely. We tried to make it fun, but we weren't sure how it was going to go over. So
we also recorded it back in November.
Yeah.
So like the world was a very different place when we recorded it. So once Eliz was done editing it, she sent it to me, and I remember I had a sense of dread in my chest as I like watched it back, thinking, God, I hope this is still applicable. And because it took us a little while to actually film that, over probably an hour to actually film that 10-minute video, and luckily I was like, I think it still works. I think it still makes sense. So we're very happy with that. On another note, though, on the Ken Travel vlog, that was my first attempt at voiceover.
Yes.
Recording for a vlog. So I was trying my best to channel my inner Rick.
Rick Steves.
I don't know if it came out, but I was trying. I was like, what words would he use?
I don't think you used any of his like common ones, like venerable. You haven't used that one yet.
That's a good word.
Rick's really into that word. But yeah, Derrick was learning how voiceover works on that one, and hopefully he can do some more voiceovers on some of the other ones. We actually have a second Kent travel vlog video that will be the next
all
one.
about Dover and the White Cliffs and like all that good stuff.
Exactly. So on that one, which hopefully it'll come next week. I actually haven't been able to get going on it too much yet. So it'll probably be mid next week if I had to guess, at the earliest. But yeah, we're looking forward to sharing more of our UK trip with you guys because we've had so many requests, and then we're like, we're trying. It just, these travel vlogs take me, absolute minimum of like 2 full days of work. So we're working through it.
So Nick's talking about the winter travel hack of saving money and how he does like to go to cities though, so they tend to have things open. So that's nice.
Exactly. And we even certain places like when we went to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, which I wouldn't necessarily call a city, but all of the things were still open. So. Yeah.
Well, that's also in a slightly warmer climate and stuff.
I suppose it was freezing when we went, but so we've been to Tennessee on Martin Luther King Jr. weekend, which is like mid-January in the U.S. twice, thinking, hey, it's warmer because it's further south than like Chicago or New York, and both times it was absolutely freezing. So, and then it was so cold when we went to Nashville that I think the high was 11 degrees, and the Airbnb that we stayed at didn't have heat. And so like the Airbnb host had put a space heater in the apartment, but clearly like didn't. Yeah, we did short out the entire electric system at one point on running the space heater and a hairdryer. But separately, the space heater that she had selected like didn't heat the entire apartment. Like she had selected too small of one because I think she just didn't have an understanding of what was needed because it was such an oddity to have such cold temperatures in Nashville. Even the bars didn't have heat and stuff. So that was a really crazy trip.
Yeah. But it was, I
was cold the whole time.
We still went to Hattie B's because, so the way we picked our Airbnb was its proximity to Hattie B's. All right, maybe that's not exactly why we picked it, but it was very close to Hattie B's. And so we went, and I don't remember what time they open, if it's at 10:30 or 11 o'clock, but whatever it was, I was like, all right, we got to get there a half hour early so we could get in line. Even though we got there a half hour before they opened, there was still a line that had formed. It was a good time.
Yeah, it was. Did we go to Dollywood? No, we didn't. I would go if we went back.
My grandparents love Dollywood.
Yeah, like it's just, it's something to experience, I'm sure. But we also didn't go. What's the place that's by Gatlinburg? Or is it what am I thinking? We didn't go to any of the shows, really. Isn't there another place that has like pirate ships and stuff like that? Pigeon Forge.
Pigeon Forge.
That's what we also did not go to Pigeon Forge either.
We did not. Yeah, Gatlinburg's just funny because like they have like the Ripley's Museum and like Ripley's Believe It or Not and all that kind of stuff, and it's a little kitschy. If you think about things like that, they have a lot of that kitschy type stuff, which was okay. I mean, what we did was we went with friends and we just got like a cabin in the woods sort of thing, which was nice, nice and fun. And then unfortunately, I was working quite a bit that weekend, so we screwed up. We actually got a place that had no Wi-Fi, had no internet, which never again. So we get there after work, find out that we have no Wi-Fi. So I spent one of the days we were there at a Starbucks from the moment they opened until the moment they kicked me out, just working.
And he was, it wasn't even when they kicked you out. You were sitting in January in the cold, like outside on like an outdoor table at Starbucks.
Yeah, fun fact, they're like the Wi-Fi doesn't shut off, so if you just want to sit outside, you can still have Wi-Fi. I was like, it's January, and freezing.
But you did it.
But I did it anyways
because I had like 20 minutes.
I had like 20 minutes more work that I had to get done before I could go, and so I'm out there like shivering, typing, finishing my work, and my buddies drive up in their car and they're just like, "Dude, are you coming?"
Sad.
I'm like, I need another minute. I get in the car and they just looked at me and they're like, "What are you doing?
Yeah, so
what's wrong with you?"
Yeah, that's it. I haven't seen any other Airbnb since that one that like didn't have Wi-Fi, so that was a rarity.
Yeah.
But certainly taught us to always look.
Because I remember being like, the place has Wi-Fi, right? And totally.
Of course it has.
Of course it has it. And
Wi-Fi.
we get there and of course they don't. And I'm just like,
it's a cabin in the woods, so I guess some people pay not to have Wi-Fi or something.
Silly people.
Anywho, so Dara from Magenta Otters Travel said she noticed your voiceover and thought you did great. Yay! And she said she made the mistake in her Halford, England vlog of doing voiceover of a script that her husband Ian wrote, and she won't do that again because it didn't sound like her own words. And yes, I understand that. You kind of need to feel like you're being natural.
Yeah.
It's so funny because you think that reading from a script wouldn't be that hard, but Derrick and I have found that we almost like need each other's feedback on the inflections and on all of that, because otherwise it's like, was this good? I don't know.
Yeah.
Does it sound natural?
It's funny
like, because
too.
no matter what, it doesn't sound natural to me.
It's like in the moment when you're doing it, and then like legitimately Eliz was like reading something and I was like, I don't know, I feel like the inflection need to end on an up note, like can't instead of can't. And it's like, I'm like, inside baseball, guys, I don't know, this is what we were doing. So it's an interesting process to put together travel vlogs, but it's fun. We enjoy being able to share the moments that we've had. So Mark Smith likes to go to Ireland in July. That's a great time to go to Ireland, I'm sure. Sounds like a good time to go. Yeah. Probably maybe less rain. I don't know. Nick Barnett says that walking helps with the cold, but that raw rain and wind is when he tries to stay inside as much as possible. I get it. Yep, definitely. Yeah, and that's something that you're going to run into a lot more if you choose to travel during winter time or shoulder seasons, is snow and wind and just weather events. Yeah. And even if you're traveling from warm climate to warm climate in winter, you're likely going to experience more bumps in the air because the jet stream just happens to typically be a bit windier and faster in wintertime. Yep. Ruth wants to know if anybody has ever taken an Alaskan cruise. Because some friends of theirs had the best pics from there and really enjoyed it. And Bonnie answers that she loved the Alaska cruise. Cool. With Holland America, which is the same one that she used for the Antarctic. Yeah, there's certain places in Alaska that would probably be best seen via cruise. Because, I mean, other than that, I think a lot of the places, you have to fly to. You can't necessarily drive. So those I'm sure would be really great. We haven't done that, but we've been to a couple different ports
that cruises like that stop at in Seattle and Vancouver and stuff like that.
So Ryan Donahue is saying, as far as Boston weather goes, we can have all 7 seasons in a week. I like that there's 7 I didn't know there were 7 seasons. You also must be referring to the Hyatt at Logan. Yes, that sounds right. The Hyatt is probably where we were staying.
Yeah.
That place was great.
Yeah, it was.
Honestly, it was really nice. It was surprisingly nice, given the price.
Somebody that I can't pronounce their name joined and said that they need sushi, and I love sushi, so I support that.
Yeah. Yeah. Nick Barnett is saying he might have to bring a second camera in case one breaks from the cold on the video. Yeah. Well, I will say that one of the big things about filming in the cold or taking pictures in the cold is that camera batteries will die very quick.
Just like your phone battery.
Same thing with your cell phone, right? Yeah. So I've been out in I remember we had a massive snowfall in New York, and I went out in Central Park to try to capture a bunch of stuff. And between my cell phones, I had 2 cell phones and my camera with me, and I think within an hour it was so cold that all my batteries were dead and everything. So one way that people will get around that is they'll get the hand warmers, and they'll put hand warmers in their pockets so they can just channel their basically what they'll do is they'll have, say you have 2 or 3 backup batteries going with your camera, they'll keep their other batteries in their warmer pocket, so those stay warm, and once one battery dies, they just keep switching them out. So if you are going to a place that's super cold and you want to make sure that you have that battery that lasts, doing stuff like that can be very helpful. Just make sure that you're not going to ruin your batteries or something like that. But I know that's something that some photographers do to kind of keep the batteries going.
Yeah.
Thomas Reiser says, Kent is a favorite part of England.
Yay, I hope you liked our video then.
We liked Kent. I mean, I will say that Kent, I didn't know what to expect going into it too much. We talked to our friends that we were staying with in Greenwich, and they told us about how, because we had picked their brains. We were like, well, here's where we're going. We haven't really made up our mind yet exactly where we're planning to go. And, I had this, very crazy itinerary that was never going to be achievable, where we kind of hit everything I wanted to see, which was a crazy amount of things. And in a day or two, that just wasn't going to be possible. So what they said was listen, I would definitely focus on some of the interior places, because as they looked at our greater itinerary for the whole trip, they're like, listen, you're on the coast, you're going to be going to the Jurassic Coast, you're going to be in Cornwall, which is on the coast. You'll be doing a bunch of coastal stuff anyways. What they recommended was the interior towns and villages to kind of see. So that's why we ended up at Rochester, Aylesford, Ainsford, etc. Is because they're like, listen, it's the Garden of England, right? You want to get some of those more interior places under your belt, and then you'll be at Dover for the evening, see the White Cliffs, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so, we experienced so many great small towns that have just a little stream running through, very historic architecture.
The River Derrick.
Lots of wonderful gardens, flowers, stuff like that. But there are other places in Kent that we wanted to go to that are coastal. Lots of beaches, just amazing places to go, and we didn't get to go on this trip. And we've already been to Canterbury, which is big cathedral city in Kent as well, and so we didn't go on this trip either. But it's a huge
Canterbury's awesome.
Yeah.
Canterbury is phenomenal. Definitely worth an entire day. Just go check out the
cathedral's so large.
That's half a day. That's probably half a day, just that. But also while you're there, if it's good weather, you do the punting tour. Is probably one of my favorite ways to see Canterbury. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Going along the little shallow canals and stuff on a boat with the family. That was really cool. Yeah, I would highly recommend Canterbury.
Agreed.
But at the same time, Rochester is pretty cool. Dover was awesome. Definitely, you've got to hit Dover because that castle is phenomenal.
We were, and you guys will see this likely in our next travel vlog that we post on this channel, but we were so enthralled with Dover, specifically the castle and the White Cliffs.
Yeah.
We were just, I think went in with expectations that this is just going to be like a port city because it is such a port city. But we loved it so much more than we even thought that we would. The food situation, we didn't quite find restaurants that we would necessarily like rave about. So, but otherwise, just the activities part of it was great.
I don't know. We went outside. The best meal that we had when we were in like the Dover area was outside of Dover. It was a pub over at
I don't know,
St. Margaret's Beach, which is also where we went and saw the actual cliffs and stuff. I liked that. I thought it was a fun meal. I thought it was.
They haven't seen it yet, so we don't have to overshare.
We won't overshare, but it was different. It was definitely we didn't know how to eat it, but we had a good time, and we got to say that we ate at the closest English pub to France.
Yes.
Which I guess is what that was.
The closest pub to France.
Yes. So, lots of fun. So Mark Smith is saying that we could do a UK highlights video. Definitely. And I think that's definitely on the list of videos that we want to do.
Yeah, we would probably do that after we've already released all of the travel vlogs from just a, content strategy perspective that makes the most sense for you viewers. So you can...
Well, plus, at that point...
And, engrossed yourself in what we did experience.
Yeah, and not only that, but, like, as we're putting together these videos for y'all, like, being able to identify, okay, wait, well, that's probably something we would put into, like, the highlight video and stuff, too. So it actually just makes your life easier that way, too. I do think that, as I think about it, we might do, I don't know if a UK one, because we didn't do any Northern Ireland, we didn't do any Wales on this trip, so I don't know
it would have to be kind of like highlights of this trip.
Yeah,
because
trip highlights.
Another piece of that, like, just, we have not been to Wales or Northern Ireland on this trip, but we also, so we don't have the footage that we would need to talk about that, but we've also been to a lot of other places in England and Scotland.
That would definitely be on the list.
Not on that trip either, that we would likely put on the list, such as Edinburgh. So, I mean...
Stonehenge. I mean, like, there's just certain things that's, like, you kind of have to see if you're going to the UK, at least in my mind.
You don't have to, but you should.
Well, it's not only that, but it's also, like in London, for instance. Like, I would say that of London, the must-do thing, we didn't do this time, which we typically do, which is...
Tower of London?
Tower of London, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
There's so many great places to visit in the UK. It's crazy that we were there for 3 months and didn't get to even touch 2 countries in there. We did something new every single day, so it's a great spot.
Yeah. Magenta, are y'all back in your home now? So we're still in Indiana with my family. We're going to be here for a little bit longer still.
Yeah.
We're kind of seeing how numbers play out and then seeing what we do after that.
Yeah,
whether
so
we stick around here or head back to, out west or do something different.
Our house is in Chicago, and we rented it out to a family for a year as well. So we won't be back in that house until the fall at the earliest.
Yeah. So Mary Ellen Dillon is saying there's so many great places to eat in Nashville, and there are. I really enjoyed, for hot chicken, I enjoyed Hattie There's a place, if you want to go eat near the honky tonks, the place that I thought was really nice was Acme Feed and Seed, right there on the river, because it's a really cool... Sorry,
Derrick just accidentally answered a call from his mom.
Whoops.
Here, I'll text her and tell her that we're on.
Yeah, so it's a really cool place. It's on the river. It has a rooftop kind of overlooking the river, so really cool, like, rooftop bar type area. But what makes it cool is that it has, like, multiple stories, and each story has, like, different types of food and stuff. So you could eat, kind of traditional, like, ribs and mac and cheese and all that stuff, or you could get sushi and Japanese food. Like, it has a ton of different types of food there, so it's kind of like something for everybody. So if you're in a big group, it really lends itself to that, like, big group where you can't all agree on what the heck you want to eat. Go there and kind of everybody can, like, split off, do their own thing. They have live music still, which is pretty cool, and in good weather the rooftop bar is pretty neat. So I'd heard that maybe there was a fire there, but I think it's open again, but I'm not, well, I don't know if it's open right now, obviously, but that place was really good.
Yeah, that was fun. They had even had sushi.
Yeah.
Nick was talking about best practices for bringing a camera along in the wintertime. So I didn't realize you could acclimate your camera and your equipment to winter weather. Is that something that you're familiar with?
Well, he's saying, yeah, the lens and the camera. So the lens is like really important because the issue that you can have with that is that if there's any moisture inside, it can cause damage. Same thing with going from the cold to the hot. Like think about when you put your sunglasses on, and if you leave your, I don't know if anybody else has ever done this, but you leave your sunglasses in your car and it's cold outside, and you put them on, like the heat from your body then like causes them to all like fog up and stuff, and you don't want something like that happening with your camera and your lens. So yeah, you want to be careful with all
Can you
that
do
stuff.
that with your cell phone too if you're traveling somewhere just with your phone to prevent the battery from dying?
It's not going to prevent the battery from dying.
Oh, okay. Just thought I'd ask.
Battery is just the technology in a battery just doesn't work as well. It's not as efficient in cold weather. So they had the same issue with electric vehicles. That the range of an electric vehicle in the freezing cold is much lower than it would be.
Oh, I didn't know
standard temperatures.
that. Yikes.
Yep. So Mark Smith is saying that Mennonite B&B had Wi-Fi but no TV in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Interesting.
That's very interesting. I assume that's what PS is. But I thought Pennsylvania was PA, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. I'm guessing he means Pennsylvania. Especially if he's talking about a Mennonite B&B. Yeah, so you guys, somebody, I think it was Mary Ellen, was saying Derrick, yeah, she said you can use the Wi-Fi from within the car too. So Derrick actually had gotten dropped off because, so we had gone to Gatlinburg, Tennessee with two other couples and rented a cabin all together. But, to save money, we had only rented one car. So he had gotten dropped off at the Starbucks and therefore had to get picked up. So that was a bummer because he couldn't even wait in the car or anything.
Sucked.
That was a rough one.
Vagabond is saying on the Alaska cruise, I thought floating around Glacier Bay for a whole day was going to be boring, but it was the highlight of the whole thing. Watching and hearing glaciers calving is amazing. That does sound pretty cool. Sounds pretty epic.
That is amazing. Yeah, I would love to go to Alaska, and just see a bunch of really cool stuff. All the national parks up there and everything.
So Magenta Auto Travel says, "Oh no, I didn't know. Oh, not oh no, just oh, I didn't know that you leased your house for a year. I know the feeling. That's what we did with our flat in England. We are waiting to hear in a few weeks if she is renewing."
Cool.
Interesting. Well, good luck.
That's very, very nice that you have your own flat. In normal years that you can just go and it's your second home.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys are talking to each other. Nick's saying, "Yep, that's what he meant by acclimate." Great. So I feel like we've caught up a lot. And if we've missed anybody's questions, please ask them again. We're so sorry. We like to make sure that we get to everybody.
Yes.
And we really enjoyed talking about winter traveling with you guys because it seems like we all have different experiences to share. She said we did a great job with his voiceover. So I think we did see that. I don't know if we missed another one, but I had read out that you.
Oh, she's saying. So she says, I made the mistake in our Helford, England vlog of doing voiceover of a script Ian wrote.
Yeah, so I had read that one.
I won't do that again.
But I'm sorry if I've missed another one. And then Mark Smith says his girlfriend's father was in Dutch Harbor, Alaska in World War II. Wow.
Wow.
I mean, that would be a very, very interesting experience.
Yeah.
Great.
So, one of the things that we saw, I don't know about Dutch Harbor, but one of the things we saw while we were on the North Coast 500 was a plaque in one of the villages. I don't remember the name of the village off the top of my head, but it was the base of operations for the Antarctic or the Arctic voyages that they sent to Russia for the resupply. So what they would do is they sent them from the northern tip of Scotland up through the Arctic and down into Russia to help supply the Russian troops against the Nazis. So that was, and super dangerous and not everything like that. Hundreds of sailors lost their lives. So that I thought that was interesting. That's like a part of the war effort and stuff that we don't learn about really in school, at least not here in the U.S.
Yeah,
So it was
I only
pretty
had
interesting.
a very brief education on World War II generally because my AP US history teacher was very behind in the curriculum by the time we got to the 1900s in comparison to when the test was scheduled. So we kind of breezed over anything after World War One to the detriment of my AP test score. But yeah, it's all based on who your teacher is, right? And how you learn.
Yeah, my teacher broke it up into 2 chunks, and the way he did it was he actually did the second half first.
Yeah, smart man.
And then he would start over from the beginning and take you up to through, I don't know, through the modern era or whatever, because he knew that for those who aren't, AP tests are basically your way of taking an advanced placement course, and then you take a test at the end, and based on your score you can get college credit for that test. So the way he said it was, listen, I know that the majority of this test will be focused on the first half of American history, so I want that fresh in the kids' minds before they go into the test, not from last semester. And so he does the modern stuff first. He's like, plus you might already know that stuff because it's more modern.
Yeah.
And then he does and everybody did really well that way. So
there you go.
I lucked out.
Yep, you did. But Dara's asking, where do we want to travel to next? So we have great question, by the way. Thank you for asking it. We have a very specific, desire to go west, whether that means to Utah, Arizona area, or we started maybe considering southwestern Texas in order to stay remote and go to a place where we felt like we could hike with a lower amount of crowds. And so we are heavily considering that for this winter spring time frame, but we're still kind of acting the way that we acted last fall in the UK, where we're being very reactive to what's going on each week and tracking the data, tracking all of the information to help inform our decisions. So we're not planning anything far in advance right now, travel-wise at all. And, that's a tactic that I'm not saying is right for everybody, but that's right for us. So once we make that decision, it would probably be pretty quick that we would leave to go wherever we end up deciding to go.
Yeah, so I mean, what we're planning to do is probably in the next week, see where the numbers come out, because at that point we should basically have some idea of what's happened post holiday travel from a numbers perspective. And based on that, we can then start making some decisions and seeing where we can go and where we'd feel comfortable going. Because, again, we don't want to go to a place that has, stressed, hospitals and things like that. We don't want to add to any of that, right? So we just want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to be, good travelers and conscientious of not only, our own health and our risk, but also making sure that we're going to places where we're not going to feel like we're being bothersome or adding to the stress of the locals.
Yeah.
So
hopefully that's a great answer. You guys are excited to see us find some really cool places to hike, because that's really the objective. Yeah. And Jara's saying that her son is moving to Utah soon.
Oh, very cool.
Awesome.
What part of Utah?
Yeah, so my best friend
North,
lives in
south?
Salt Lake City, and Derrick's aunt and uncle live in St. George, and we went to Moab last year. Yeah. No, 2019. So we've been all over the state. It's a great state, especially for outdoor activities. So we're very curious about that. And thanks, Nick, for joining for so long. Hopefully, we'll see you Thursday night. But yeah, awesome to talk to you, especially about. I just learned from you how to acclimate cameras to climates, so that's really important knowledge.
Yep.
Have a great rest of your day.
But yeah, so Magenta. So she says we have tickets to the UK for May, but we will only go if we can get fully vaccinated first. Yeah. And unfortunately, May, we'll see if the vaccine rollout improves or not. But
it's unclear, of course, right now for anybody, whether you're American or not, if that's a timeline that makes sense. So I'm hoping, I'll keep my fingers and toes crossed for you, because there's still several months for that to be the case.
Yeah. Okay, so it looks like maybe Salt Lake or Provo is the hope for where to go to. That's awesome.
Very cool.
Salt Lake
Tech
City
job,
was Salt Lake City was pretty cool. I didn't know what to expect. Eliz had been there before to visit our friend out there, but I had never been. So going out there, I was like, I don't know what this is gonna be like. It was pretty cool though.
It's beautiful.
Gorgeous.
It's the city in this valley.
Yeah.
And yes, a lot of tech jobs are moving to Salt Lake. Just a lot of jobs generally seem to be moving there, and so it's a booming city. It really is. And what I was most pleased about was there's a lot of great coffee places, and I went in with zero expectations of having cool coffee houses or anything like that, because Mormons don't drink coffee. But I guess there's enough of these people that aren't Mormon, and people coming in as tech jobs and stuff like that, they're creating some pretty cool coffee houses there too.
And there's bars. I mean, there really are bars and breweries and cider places.
Oh my gosh,
and a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
I went to a Mountain West brewery, which is a cider brewery. So good. So yeah, you can find everything in Salt Lake. Yeah, it is less than 50% Church of the Latter-day Saints. Yes. And I think it's becoming more and more that way too. So
yeah. Dara's gonna get vaccinated before all of us because she's older. Nice.
She's saying Park City is so pretty as well.
Is that where we went?
Yeah, we went in the summertime to Park City. We haven't been in winter.
We went for an art. There was an art show that they were having, an art fair.
Yeah.
And our friend's aunt was working at selling stuff, and so we went up, saw her, hung out for the day, and saw a lot of really cool stuff. Everything from sculpture to paintings, drawings, photography, all sorts of stuff. It was pretty neat.
Yeah, and so that's the type of place that, while it's definitely a much more popular winter destination, and easy to get to from Salt Lake, it's an hour or less to drive to Park City from the Salt Lake City airport. They have a lot of things to do still in the summertime, and the restaurants are, for the most part, still open, and you might find it to be a little bit less crowded. So it's kind of the reverse of what we were talking about earlier when it comes to, why you might consider destinations in the wintertime. You might want to consider ski destinations in the summertime as a way to experience what's there. I've even been to, I went to Telluride, but I went in the summertime, and we did hiking, and we drove down an aspen trail. There's some really cool spots that you can do off season as well.
Yeah. And it looks like she also did tubing in Park City because they're not much of skiers.
I would totally do that. That's great. And Ronnie, welcome, Ronnie.
What's up, Ronnie?
And he says, happy birthday, Derrick.
Thank you.
Yes, so for anybody who wasn't on right at the very beginning, Derrick's birthday was
a couple days ago.
Yeah, on the 7th, 2 days ago. And we also became an aunt and uncle this week, a couple days before that.
Yep.
So we've had a lot of really great things to celebrate this week. It's been a very busy week over here.
Lots of carrot cake has been eaten. Probably about 5 pounds of carrot cake. There's still another 5 pounds to go. It's I forgot how dense that stuff is. It's yay tall and just
Carrot cake is Derrick's favorite, and I
love the
cream
worst. Cheese icing. The cream cheese icing.
Yeah, because I can't eat cream cheese, so we never have it. And he was so happy. I loved it.
I mean, I was happy. I wasn't
Sugar.
But yeah, no, it was good. So yeah, it's just, and yesterday I made duck confit.
Yes. Oh, it was so delicious, even though it was definitely...
Okay, so here's the thing.
Duck confit, you cook it in its own fat, and it was cooked in its own fat.
Wow. Okay, so Eliz found for the first time duck legs at Whole Foods on her last trip, and she called me and she's like, "Do you want to make duck legs for me?" And I was like, "Of course, yeah, let's do it." So she brought it home, and like this stuff was so fatty. Which for duck confit, what that is it's duck leg cooked in its own fat, right? So that's great. And I found a really easy recipe. It literally is just duck and salt. That is all. So you take the duck legs, you poke holes in the skin to let the fat come out, so it crisps up the skin nicely. And then you salt the hell out of it, just so much salt, way more than you think you're gonna need. And you let it sit for 20 minutes to an hour to kind of get a little bit more room temperature. And then you stick it into the oven without preheating it. And if you have a digital one, you set it to like 275 and let it heat up slowly so that you're cooking that duck leg very gently. And it will, get up to 275, and you let that then cook for 2 hours. And after 2 hours you check it, make sure it's looks like it's actually cooked through, and then you turn it up to 375 at the end to get it nice and crispy for 10 to 15 minutes.
It was super
Pull
yummy.
it out and let it sit for a while, let those juices reallocate so it's yummy. But I mean, the pan was big pan, that deep with just duck fat.
We were laughing at how much it was way more than normal.
It was a comical amount.
So Whole Foods supplier does something extra special with their ducks or something. I don't know.
I don't know if they're feeding them beer and nachos or what, but these things were fat as heck. And we had cooked it twice. We'd cooked duck confit twice when we were in the UK. And we love it, and this was the fattiest duck I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
So much so that I usually really love the skin and everything. I was pulling all that stuff off. And we actually have 2 containers full, because my family doesn't eat a lot of fatty foods like that. So for them, they were kind of we'll try it. Okay, we're not going to have that. So we actually have a bunch of duck now that we're going to turn into duck tacos, I think, or something for lunch. So it was very tasty, but very fatty.
Yeah,
and so,
it was a tasty meal, but an interesting experience yesterday.
So good.
We also made mashed potatoes and green beans with it too. It was just a great,
it was a good meal.
French inspired cuisine.
And I do think they were technically French green beans, because they were that
yes,
cut green bean or whatever. But yeah, no, it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
Way to transport ourselves back to Europe.
Exactly.
So I don't know about you guys, but we're very much we've been watching the show Bridgerton on Netflix. We're not going to get too much into it. It is very adult, not for kids. But I will say it's been fun because it really does kind of launch you back into Europe a little bit.
Yeah.
And we found a couple of those types of shows that we've been watching that we find to be fun like that. Emily in Paris, to make us think about Paris, because we love Paris so much, but we haven't been in.
We still need to start season 4 of The Crown, but there are certain ways that you can travel through entertainment right now, that we're trying to lean in on, as we are not. I mean, I guess you could say we're traveling right now in Indiana, but it's more of I'm working here on a day-to-day basis, and maybe we'll go for a walk, but we haven't been out exploring as much as we were in the UK. Maybe we could start doing that a little bit more this week, but it is cold. We'll see.
It's cold, and also numbers.
Yeah.
But we'll see. There might be some outdoor stuff that we can do, like going to Metamora or something like that.
Yeah.
But no, it does become kind of a thing where it's travel how you can, and right now that's why we are actually really liking putting out these travel vlogs as a way to maybe let other people travel vicariously through them. And it's also cool for us because we get to relive it as we watch it again, oh, we did do that was fun, oh, that was cool.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a really cool way for us to relive our travels, and hopefully open that up to everybody else, because while we do like the travel and planning, and we do plan to put out some stuff on like how to plan trips and stuff, because obviously people are going to start thinking about that as the vaccine continues to be rolled out. It's still fun to offer a little bit of escapism to people in the form of these vlogs.
Absolutely.
Which is cool.
Well, it seems like we've kind of heard all of your questions. We aren't getting too many new ones in at the moment. Yep. And we do have another live stream coming up this week. So perhaps
Thursday.
Perhaps if you have any more, that might be a good time to ask.
Yeah.
So our next live stream is this Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And we are hoping that can be kind of more of like a happy hour type experience. I know right now it's like a coffee chat, as Derrick and I are sipping on our morning coffees as well.
Yes.
But
I will be drinking on Thursday.
Yeah, I think we'll probably at least have a glass of wine at minimum on Thursday night. So hopefully you guys can join us. And you don't even have to drink. But we're just saying we'll be switching from coffee to wine.
Something
probably.
Stronger.
But yeah, it's been really, really fun reconnecting with all of you guys, because it's been 2 weeks and normally we talk every week. And I hope you guys are going to have an amazing rest of your weekend. And thank you so much for all of the support that you've done on the 2 videos that we launched this week, on this live stream. If you pressed like and commented on the different videos, and just generally, I would say that you all are amazing support for this channel, and thank you so much for tuning in. Each time we go live, we really appreciate it, and we love spending, we love the fact that you guys spend your time with us.
Yes, thank you very much. And we will catch you on Thursday.
Yep, have a great weekend. Cheers, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.